welcome to the Rebel Mums podcast. I have Lucy with me, who is a human design practitioner. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. And we just met a few weeks ago at a networking event and just spent the whole evening chatting. And I just thought your story was so inspiring about your son. And yeah, it's not so dissimilar to the story that I had about my daughter. So tell us about your family first, because you are very rebel mum.
Yes. I have 3 children. I have a now 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. I have an 18-year-old son, 16-year-old daughter. And before I had children, I was never maternal, so I didn't know how I was going to mother or any of it. So what I did was I read as many books as I could and put the books down. I was like, okay, now I'm more confused than I ever was. And so I just didn't know
Yeah.
where to start. It was like, do I do a routine? Do I not do a routine?
Yeah.
Like how do I even approach this? And so I just started using my intuition. And
Amazing.
at their very young age, I became a solo parent. So their father wasn't involved in their lives from when my daughter was 3 and my son was 5. So I then embarked on this whole other journey of being mum and dad, which is, now I look at it, I'm like, this was just crazy. But, I did what I needed to do for my children.
Yeah.
And to get to that point, I'd just really been using my intuition without any real kind of understanding as to what was going on, because what I found was every time I kind of just made what would seem to my mother a crazy decision, it just seemed to work out. I knew that my son was somewhat different to other children just from observing them. And I remember thinking about he's got to start school and where am I going to take him? This was obviously when I wasn't solo parenting before, and I locally to me was a Rudolf Steiner school, and I literally walked through the doors. And I'd not seen any other schools. I'd been to very traditional schooling, and I walked through the doors of this school and was like, this is where he needs to go. And it was just this internal nudge within me of that is how it needs to be. And if I'm very
Yeah.
honest, up until that point, the Rudolf Steiner thing is that it's all about routines and rhythms. And in my home, that's how I had been. I'd been very much about a routine which suited us, not that was structured. It was a routine that worked for the children. And my routine for my son was completely different to my routine with my daughter because they were completely different children.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think it has to work for us as mums as well.
yeah.
Like, I remember I ditched the books really early on because I read that Gina Ford Contented Baby book, which some people swear by and love,
Yeah.
and that's fine. And it was the chapter where it says, at 7 a.m., mother shall eat a piece of wholemeal toast. I just thought, no, I will not. Thank you. So, so intuition, I think,
Yeah,
is, yeah.
and so I'd had this very different routine because my son was a sleeper and my daughter, not that she wasn't a sleeper, but in the day she didn't need much sleep at all, but he
Mm,
needed sleep. So he was sleeping most nights 12, 13 hours when she came into the world, and then it continued. But it got to a point where she was 2 years younger than him, but sleeping less. And
mm,
if we follow the routines, well, that's not right because he was sleeping in ways that he was sleeping longer hours than what was kind of prescribed for a child of his age, and she wasn't sleeping enough.
right.
But so I had this routine where he would go to bed before she went to bed because it didn't work to put her to bed first because it meant I was up earlier, basically.
Yeah.
I'm a mum that needs sleep. So,
Yeah.
so he was sleeping 12-hour nights and she was doing 11. So I was putting her to bed an hour after him because and through the day,
Works.
she wasn't sleeping. She was sleeping for like 45 minutes. He was still sleeping for 3 hours. It was like, this doesn't make sense. She's the young
Yeah.
one. And he wanted to be held all the time. Like, he would be held constantly, even when she came along. As a child,
Mm.
she didn't want to be held. If I tried to hold her, she'd cry. And it was just like this very,
Yeah.
very opposing experience. So there was just, so I just kind of made this routine work. I would be putting him to bed, and then I would put her to bed. In the day, I would put him down for a nap, and then she would go down for a nap. So it meant that I could have a little bit of time for myself. They would only both of them sleep when they were tired anyway. So if they weren't tired, they wouldn't sleep. So it wasn't like I was enforcing this, but we just came into
Yeah.
this routine. And then I went to the Steiner school and walked in and was like, this is where he needs to be. This is like this
Mm.
amazing world. And it was entirely right for him in all ways of being. And my daughter started there, but it was very early on, was very apparent that this was not the place for her.
Mm.
And I was just working out where I was going to take when the school closed, basically. So it kind of forced the hand. It was almost like
Yeah.
it dealt her, this perfect hand because it meant that I had to take her out. Yet for him, this was like the worst thing in the world. So I have these two opposing children where like his world is collapsing, and for her, her world's now opening up because in the process of
Mm.
that, I took her to a local prep school, not a pushy school because I'm not into pushing education, but a school with a lot of opportunities, a lot of activities, and a lot of things going on. And the learning was delivered at a fairly fast pace. And I remember her going for a sample day, and she came home and she loved it. And they said, does she want to come back tomorrow? And she went back the next day and she loved every minute of it. And literally the
Mm.
following day after that, I had to take her back to the Steiner school, and she cried all the way there, going, I don't want to go there. I don't
Yeah.
want to go there. I want to go to the other school. I need to be in the other school. Yeah.
It's such an assumption, isn't it, that your children all need the same thing and the same education and should go to the same schools. But they're all so different. They all
Yeah.
bring so many different qualities with them. So, yeah, that's amazing that you discovered that and went with it.
Yeah, and so from then on, we embarked on this very different parenting route. I mean, he was 9, I think, and no, he was 10 and she was 8. And so she went into the prep school and just went in there like a duck to water. And it's a very relaxed, the school motto is about the child being happy, not about it achieving
Mm.
grades. And it was just this amazing environment for her. And she just
Oh,
flourished because there was just so much opportunity. She just used to come home and go, Mummy, we're learning. Because they were delivering
wow.
in a way that she could
Dream.
really
Yeah.
assimilate. Yet my son could really learn in the Steiner environment of learning because of just the way that his mind works. It was the perfect environment for him. So that was a difficult situation of that I couldn't find a school that was suitable for him locally.
Mm.
So I just trusted my intuition that something would happen. And I can remember the school
Yeah.
closed in the July, and in the September there was no school. He had no school, and I
Right.
had a baby. My youngest child was 1, so I had a 1-year-old and
Mm.
a 10-year-old that I was trying to educate at home, and one in a prep
Yeah.
school. And I was like, this is a little bit, and working 2 days a week myself, and just like trying to balance this. So I was spending like my 3 days that I wasn't working. We were going to museums. We were watching he loves documentaries, so we were watching lots of documentaries online and doing worksheets, and it
Mm.
was just like, and I was like, but my head I was like, like I just trusted this instinctual thing, the right thing is going to come, there's going to be an opportunity, and I
Mm.
just trusted it. And what was really interesting was because before the school closed in the July, I'd said to his teacher, because she was like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, I know the right thing's going to happen. And she was like, no, Lucy, what are you going to do? Like, he can't go. She was the most amazing woman. He can't go into a mainstream school. He cannot go
Mm.
into traditional schooling. What are you going to do? And I was like, the right thing. And I was like, I see that he will be back in this school in after the summer, and he'll be learning. She was like, Lucy, you're crazy. The school's going to close. Like, what are you
Mm.
talking about? And I was like, I just know this is going to happen. This is his
Yeah.
happy place. This is where he feels safe. He will be back here. And she just thought I was nuts. So
Yeah.
then go back to that September of me like doing this homeschool thing. And then I got a call from some local friends who were like, there's a homeschool starting up of teachers. Some of the teachers are joining it from the school. There's like-minded parents, do you want to join? And I joined it, and it just took off from there. There were more teachers coming, and it was like this whole school. Moved forward to October. He was sat in the classroom that I'd envisioned him being in. in the school because we rented a classroom
Oh,
from the
wow.
school.
So you almost created your own school from the
Yeah.
teachers and parents.
Yeah, I didn't, but yeah, others did.
Well,
But yeah, but like in my head, I had this vision of
yeah,
this is what was going to happen. And we
yeah.
followed kind of that Steiner philosophy of learning, which is what he needed. And
Mm,
yeah, but it was just literally, and people, you can imagine like what people, people are just going, you are crazy. Like, how
mm,
can you do this? Like, my parents were like, you're nuts. Like,
yeah.
and anybody that I see, like, even if I tell people that I homeschool, like, now they're like, you were crazy, like you're crazy to
Yeah.
like, how do you do it? But back then when I was like, literally, I've got no, I'm just like, I'm trusting this is going to happen, I'm trusting that we're
Mm.
going to be here, and I don't know how
And
it
I think
happened,
that
but
was
it
pre-COVID as well, because everybody
yeah,
got used to the homeschool idea. There's
yeah.
now a
But
lot more
this was, yeah,
homeschoolers.
this was, so he's now
Yeah,
18, so this was 8 years ago this happened.
yeah.
And I, yeah, and it just came
And
through, and we just created this community, and it was
mm,
just perfect for him. He is dyslexic. He was in the severe end of dyslexia, so this is why a normal kind of classroom wasn't going to be the perfect
mm,
solution for him. He's been used to learning in the Steiner way, and moving him to mainstream or to a prep school, they just taught in such a different way, and that didn't suit him, whereas the Steiner way did. So it was just this
yeah,
beautiful opportunity to support him in that way. My daughter had gone into the prep school, and she likes a lot of stimulation. She's a very, very social child, needs a lot going on, and that was just perfect for her. So I had this kind
yeah,
of balance between the two of being able
yeah.
to meet both of
And
their
children
needs.
spend so much time at school that
Yeah,
you get it wrong, or if it's wrong for them, it can affect them so badly
yeah,
that it can take years to get over that impact.
yeah.
So I
And
think,
that's what I used to say about my son is I know that
yeah,
the social side of school would potentially break it, would be the only benefit, but that could also break him. And the
mm,
learning is he wouldn't be able to access the learning. So, and he loves to learn. Like he used to watch documentaries. His knowledge is vast of
mm,
subjects because
mm,
even now he just sits listening to random. Sometimes he's teaching me about Russian politics, and I'm like, how on earth is he? Because he just listens to these
yeah,
obscure documentaries of knowledge. So I was, and people were like, well, what's it like? And I'm like, because I know he'll learn if he wants to
mm,
learn, he'll learn. Um,
yeah.
but it's about
And
the education being available to him, and in a standard format, that's not possible.
yeah, it's just not going to capture his interest. I mean, my third daughter went through the grammar school system, or she started in the grammar school system. Then COVID hit. She already wasn't doing that great, and then when it turned into home education through the school system, she just lost it. She couldn't follow
Mm.
it at all. She is probably on the spectrum, never wanted to get an assessment, but after a year out of school where she was basically at home in bed dealing with depression, I had the same thing where I felt so judged by people on the outside. We were in the court system as well, so I was judged by the court, the education system, the
Yeah.
father. And after a year, she was ready for therapy. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. We got her into the local school who didn't need an assessment or an EHCP or anything. I told them how she was, and they just wrote autistic on her
Mm.
form, whatever it was. But they shouldn't really do that. But on the other hand, it got her the support that she needed.
Yeah.
She did school on her terms, and she's now gone into a film and TV school, which is exactly what she wants to do.
Yeah.
So I think like both our stories have that sense. I always say like I'm changing the world one mother at a time,
Yeah.
because when we own who we are, we then that impacts our children. That's then changing the next generation and having
Yeah.
an impact on the world. And it's it's not always easy because you do feel judged,
Mm.
but as mothers, we know our children so well.
Yeah. Yeah. The judgments. I was vegetarian when I had my children. And at the beginning, so the judgment started very soon of that you need to feed your children meat. And I was like, but I'm not going to, because, and the pressure from, again, people, doctors, health clinics, just that outside pressure of like me knowing what was right for my children. And my belief in being vegetarian was not at all about, yeah, about harming animals, but it wasn't. It was what felt right. I mean,
Yeah.
to the point that now I've hit menopause and I'm now eating meat because I cannot get enough protein. I've always said it's
That's
about what is
exactly the
right
same
for
happened
me,
to
not,
me. I did exactly the same. I was vegetarian for 20 years. Hit
yeah.
menopause. I was like, oh my God, I need meat.
So I was dribbling over my partner's chicken on his plate. He was going, "Can you just eat a piece? I can't stand looking at you dribbling at me."
Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
just had this inside, and I remember taking my eldest daughter. So she was born on the 25th percentile. She was tiny, and even now she's still tiny, and her line moved perfectly up. And I took her in to be weighed, and I only took her very occasionally because I didn't want to go in because of the questions. And I remember this one day I took her in, and she'd weaned, so she was probably about 9 months old, and we got this beautiful line, no problems
Yeah.
at all, perfect, all up the 25th percentile. Her father is very small, he's only 5'6", I'm only 5 foot. I'm taller than all of my family at 5 foot. My mum and all,
Yeah.
she's got 5 sisters, I'm the tallest, so we're a tiny family. Her father's only
Yeah.
5'6". And I took her to be weighed, and she weighed perfectly on the 25th percentile. And then this, what are they called? Name's gone.
Health visitor.
Health visitor came over
Yeah.
and said she's underweight. And I said, "What do you mean she's underweight?" "Well, she's not on the 50th percentile." I was like, "If she's on the 50th percentile, I would be worried." Like, because how did she
Yes.
go from the 25th to the 50th? So she said, actually, we need you to start thinking about, introducing some red meat into her diet. And I mean, she was plump. She had like rolls on her legs. She's
Yeah.
just literally this tiny little thing. And I was like, I'm never coming back here again. That was the last time I took
Yeah.
her there, because
I
I was
had
like,
a similar experience,
it's the
almost
judgment.
exactly the same with my eldest. So it was my first, so I was a bit swayed by what the health visitors were saying. And I'm also tiny. I'm 5'2", tiny family. Her dad's quite tall, but she obviously inherited the genes from my side. And she's still 5 foot and teeny. And she was on, I think, the ninth centile. And they told me that we needed to feed her more. Exactly the same age, 9 months. Yeah, I think it was about 9 or maybe 10. And the health visitor suggested broccoli, which has like no
Yeah,
calories. So
that's insane.
yeah, so I think that
Yeah.
was the last time I went back as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, you need to give her red meat and chicken. And I'm like, but she eats all of her meals. There's more milk available. There's more food available. She sleeps for 11 hours solid. She sleeps in the day. She's tearing around like the place, full of energy. Like, I don't need, like,
Yeah,
what more do you need? The
yeah,
child's perfectly healthy. So it's that whole thing, that intuition, that really
yeah,
knowing what is right for your child. I'm really like keen on
yeah,
advocating. It's about your child, you looking at them as an individual. And when I
yeah.
found sort of my human design work, that was what was beautiful, actually, is how I found that I'd identified parts of my children's human design charts and been able to see how that showed up and how I was naturally understanding them and complementing that,
Mm,
because everybody is so individual. I've got a third
yeah,
I've got a third daughter now, and all three of them are so very, very different.
yeah. Why do we even expect that our children are going to be the same?
I know. I
I don't
think
know
that
why, but everybody does. But they are extremely, they're all different. They're all very different and they all need a different approach. And that sort of brings us back to exactly where we started about, being told what to do for your children, either whether it's through books or professionals.
yeah.
And what you've done, and I've also parented in a very similar way, is to follow in your intuition. But it's
Mm,
not so easy for everybody.
no.
It can take some work to find your intuition, to really connect with your baby and your children, and to have that courage as well to follow your intuition when everything out there is telling you something else.
Yeah, and I kind of think back, what did we do before we had like all these books and the television? We relied on advice from local families, parents, families, community, and then also they were just left to get on with it. There wasn't that input
Yeah,
because there just wasn't the support there.
yeah,
Let's roll back to, caveman times. There wasn't someone stood over them dictating how things would be. We
no,
were using our instincts to provide, and we're
yeah,
becoming so numbed away from that instinct
yeah,
and the uniformity of trying to manage everybody as being the same is just impossible, and that's
yeah,
in some ways, I think that that's being broken because there's so much more neurodiversity being recognized by people and us understanding what it is. But at the same time, we're still being asked to fit into a small box. So we're like,
yeah,
we're starting to understand the diversity of ourselves, but actually trying to make
yeah.
us fit
The
into a box
boxes are
even
getting
more.
smaller.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
I know.
it's just a complex. I think I can only see that at some point this is going to implode and we're going to go one way or the other. And I'm
Yeah,
hoping we go the way where we are all much more seen as complete individuals and we're able to do things our own way because
yeah,
we are
I
all
think
so
so.
different.
I definitely see it going in that direction, and the education system is going to have to catch up at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Jamie Oliver is starting to wave that flag. He's starting to bring that forward with, the bill that he's trying to bring through. So
Right. Oh, I
he's
haven't even followed that.
no,
So,
he's advocating. So how he did with the school dinners, because he was dyslexic,
mm,
and now some of his younger children are neurodiverse. He's seeing how it's being shown. So he is
right.
advocating for all children. I think it's all children in primary school to be tested for all neurodiversity, so the
Mm,
teachers know what they're teaching, and then for the
yeah.
teachers to have proper training in university, so they know how to teach all the different diverse
Mm,
types of neurodiversity. And if he
yeah.
can get things moving that way, this could be the beginning of a change, but whether government will, because
Yeah.
his I think he calculated something like the money spent on trying to support children that they don't understand are neurodiverse against training the teachers and the testing. It's cheaper to
Mm,
train them and test them than it is to deal
yeah.
with the flip side of that.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
I'm just hopeful that this could potentially be the start of a change.
Yeah. I think it needs a complete overhaul, the whole system of, because, what we're teaching children, do they even need it in today's world? Are we actually preparing them for the world that they're going into? We don't even know what they're going to go into, but are we
I
preparing them for like that resilience and the
so
qualities
for
they're going to need?
when I went to school, maths was my favourite subject, and
Mm,
my son's just gone through his maths GCSE, and my older daughter is about to go through it, and I'm helping my 8-year-old do her homework. I cannot help my 8-year-old do her maths homework, and I did the higher paper of maths when I took my
wow.
GCSE, and the way that they do it is so difficult and so complex, and already some of the questions are like, so I decided to sign up and do my maths GCSE.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my God, it is so complex the way, like the things that they're
Really?
doing. It's just another level to
Yeah.
when we were younger, and it's like this isn't going to suit all children to be able to
No.
understand this. And now they're saying that children have to stay in school till they're 19 to do their maths. They have to stay doing their maths and English GCSEs till they're 18,
They've
19.
only just put it up till 18, haven't they?
Well, yeah, there's talk of going to 90, but yeah, just
Yeah.
like, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, this is just, crazy
Mm,
to be expecting children to be doing these things because the questions that are there, like
yeah.
already the algebra is so complex. When do
Mm,
we really use algebra in life? When do we use
exactly.
algebra in life?
Well, this was the outcome of me supporting my daughter to follow her own intuition. We kind of taught each other on the journey, and she's just done her GCSEs, and she wasn't that bothered. She decided she was going to get exactly what she needed for her next level to get into the college she wanted to get into. And that's what she did. And she didn't have all the stress and worry and aggro. She got exactly what she needed, which was pretty basic, even though she's very intelligent. And if she'd have put a bit of work into it, she could have got a lot more. But
Yeah.
we didn't worry about it because she's got such a clear sense of her own direction, and she's so connected to her own intuition about what's next that I just don't have any worries for her.
Yeah, and the current exams boards don't recognize the children that are diverse. My son, who is on the extreme level end for dyslexia, so when you look at his IQ scores, his ability to read
Yeah,
and assimilate the information and understand it is on the third or fourth percentile out of
yeah,
100. But his ability to orally understand things and
mm,
orally describe them back is on the 97. So he can have these really,
yeah,
really complex conversations with you, but he cannot read information off a piece of paper and put it
mm,
down. But you
yeah,
talk to him and he can explain really complicated things. He has such
yeah,
depth of knowledge. You cannot express that on a GCSE
yeah,
paper. Even though they have he
yeah.
took his GCSEs at home and we had the ability for him to have a reader and a writer. But even in that sense, you can't get the complexity of what he
No,
understands and he
then you have
knows.
to manage the reader and writer as
Yeah,
well, so
yeah,
which is a skill in itself.
and so it just cannot reflect all
Yeah,
children that are out there and their abilities. And so my
yeah.
prayer is that this just completely gets overhauled for those.
Yeah, and people do say at the moment, like everyone seems to have a neurodiversity. Well, it's probably like in my world, everybody does because I am surrounded by it in my family and you
Yeah,
kind of tend to attract it. But the reason being, like in the old days, that would not have been called a neurodiversity. Like our children would just have been written off.
yeah. I mean, through
So,
my son, so my son has now been diagnosed with ADHD and autism.
yeah,
He himself thought he was autistic and decided that he just wanted to know for sure
yeah,
because he knew that he wasn't interacting in the world in the same way as others. So he decided he wanted to be tested. So he's been tested at
mm,
17 and then in that process they diagnosed him with ADHD. In
mm.
then learning all about that, I've now realized I'm pretty certain that I have ADHD. And the woman that assessed him, when I said to her, I think I have, she just sat there nodding at me. I was like, okay.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
an
I
unofficial
think that
diagnosis.
happens to a lot of us. I've bought a book for my daughter, ostensibly, about ADHD, and I was reading it thinking, "Oh, that's me."
Yeah, and my youngest, my 8-year-old, she's been
Yeah.
diagnosed with ADHD as well, and I'm pretty certain that my
Wow.
older daughter has it as well. I
Yeah.
think we're just like a house, and my partner thinks he has it, so we're just a house full of,
Yes.
of unusual thinking.
Neurodiverse people. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so for me,
It does sound like
I
that.
never knew to get it diagnosed because that's how I operate.
Yeah.
And of course, it was never hinted to me to my parents that I was, because I think, back when we were educated, it
Oh,
really wasn't
no.
known and
No,
talked about.
not at all. You were just strange
Yeah.
or
And I had this realization that I was part of the girls that were all a bit unusual and quirky at
mm.
school, and I hung out with them. And then all of a sudden, I was like, I was a quirky one too.
You thought you were
I was
just
like, I bet
hanging
they
out
were all
with them.
thinking. No, I was thinking, I bet they're all thinking the same. They're all really quirky, but I'm fine.
That's hilarious.
Because
Yeah.
because we all think our
Yeah.
world is how the world is.
Yeah.
And now I'm
No,
like, oh wow.
I didn't have a gang at all. I was always like I could only ever have one friend at a time, and they were always quite odd. So,
Yeah, there was a real group of odd ones.
yeah.
And now I
Yeah.
understand that I was one
Yeah,
too. That's why I wasn't gelling with the
exactly.
other girls because
Yeah.
I was different.
But this is, I believe, part of our evolution as well. Like a lot of neurodiverse people are kind of on the cutting edge of cultural shift and societal changes and healing and development. And I think that's we really need it now. And that's why we're finally beginning to acknowledge that a different way of thinking about things is just as valid.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, the book I was reading, it was about that you're either a farmer, and a farmer is neurotypical, just kind of following doing the same thing day in, day out, following the same, you've got to be very planned and structured to be a farmer. It follows the system of the year. It's very kind of even. And the opposite side is like the gatherers. And that's the ADHD side. And you have to have that sense of like, what's over there, like the hunter-gatherer kind of brain. And how valuable that is when we're in a society that's looking for answers and questioning how we're operating and looking for something new. So we need all these neurodiverse brains.
I think that's what I heard about. Heard a similar thing. Someone talking about that as well, saying, how actually that hunter-gatherers were actually seen as the most important part of the tribe, because without them, the others wouldn't survive, because they needed that extra sharpness, the ones that could take the opportunities and see them and utilize things that the others were missing, because it was just what the others were doing, just following the same path, wasn't enough to sustain the community. And so they were actually held in kind of a higher regard. And it's funny how things have
we've switched it.
We've changed. So I'm hoping we can come back up again.
Yeah, well, it's a really exciting times, and well, you can look at it as exciting or you can look at it as terrifying. But every era has its thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I like to look on the bright side.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's been amazing talking to you.
Yeah.
Say that last thing, and then we'll wrap up.
I think that the more conversations that are being had like this, the more opportunity things are able to come out, and to people to be able to identify in others. Because when you're new to babies and children, and if you haven't got that support network of people that are willing to think differently, then things like this are essential. Because I know that this kind of thing was so important to me when I was trying to parent with young children.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I've created with my community, which is it's a space to be online. So you can join from anywhere in the world, and we're doing motherhood differently. It's just a bunch of women. We're all doing it differently. Or if you're not doing it differently, you're thinking, hang on, the normal way is not working for me, and I'd really like to do it differently.